So, good evening and good morning. Welcome to the psychic education session, invoking the divine's presence and grace as we begin this session, our fourth session on psychic education. So, we had started this worksheet reflection and we had taken up the first 4 questions. So, and we had discussed that we'll sit with them, we'll see if something comes up. So I'll just, if somebody wants to just read these 4 questions again, and if there is any reflection, any sharing, we can take that and then we can go on. Maybe we can read the full thing. This is nice because this will be useful for most of the things in the workbook.
I'll read.
Yeah.
You may like to go through the following questions before you take a decision. You can find your answers in various ways. You may like to. There is a hand which is coming.
I don't see any hand. You mean this hand, the one which is writing?
There's nothing behind it, na? Right. Okay.
Uh-huh.
I'll start from again. You may like to go through the following questions before you take a decision. You can find your answers in various ways. You may like to try to hear the answers from within. Another way is to answer some of these questions with the help of your reasoning mind. A third way is to ignore these questions and just to sit quietly with yourself in a place where you feel safe and comfortable and see what comes up from within when you ask yourself, am I ready to devote myself to a new adventures of self-discovery? When, where, or from what do I find maximum guidance in my life? A moment or a situation in my life of great learning was a most valuable moment in my life was the feeling associated with that moment is.
Yeah, we'll stop here. And this is where we stopped last time. Thank you. So if we want to go through these, if we have anything to ask or share on these or the way, we can take it up. Otherwise, we can go to the next question.
So
Monica,
this
if you would
question,
want to add. Sorry, Ritu, what are you saying?
yeah, when, where, or from what do I find maximum guidance in my life? So in this, I mean, it can be a person, a book, some buddy who we are following, the guru or God, and it can be somebody um, within us. So this can be very varied.
Yeah, it can be. And yet it's good to, right, take these things into account also. I feel that helps. And maybe sometimes when we realize how things, how I'm being guided and what is important and what is affecting me, I tend to increase that a bit more in my life. Like mentally speaking, I think that's what I can say. But I think Monica was about to unmute. I don't know if.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think just what you were both talking and also just kind of taking it further, I think this worksheet is all the worksheets that would come, although we are doing it collectively, but I feel that these questions are something, their responses of which we need not share, because but we must acknowledge these questions and we must sit over it. So collectively we are invoking each other that let's, like Taru was sharing, that we have to at least acknowledge that there is something like that happening. So by these questions we get kind of pointers कि हम किसके साथ बैठें, अगर मनन करना है, चिंतन करना है, meditate करना है. So we can have these questions on a sheet of paper or in the back of our mind, as said in the introduction, and then we sit with ourselves, and the responses are, it's not like a examination की तरह नहीं है कि एक ही answer है, as Ritu was sharing. It's just varied responses, as you said, will be there, and no answer is right or wrong. This is not about right wrong answers, it's just about having an intimate connection with ourselves. So through these questions we will come more closer to ourselves, and we will maybe get to know more about how we are working and how do we operate, which maybe usually we don't get time to sit with, right? So these questions, if those of us who are really sincere about these practices, if you all have the PDF and you can look at the questions and do it, although we are going over the practice collectively, but I feel that these responses must not be shared, because because whatever experience, whatever response we get, it's a very intimate response, and to preserve its sanctity, uh, I feel that it has to stay within me. So that's my thought about it. Yeah. But again, it's as we are collectively reading, it invokes us कि अच्छा ये भी कर सकते. So by that we poke ourselves, and then we do it in our whatever silent time when we have some, as was shared in the introduction, कि जब आपके पास थोड़ा सा समय है, जब आप बिल्कुल अकेले हो, undisturbed हो, वहाँ पे जाके इन चीजों पे विचार कीजिए. Something like that. Yeah.
So I think we can just then proceed. So the next questions or just reflections, things that we should reflect about that would be helpful. The next one is, what brings me closer to my inner nature? The best present I can give to myself is something I would like to develop in myself is, what is it in me that wants a deeper consciousness? So she goes further, some more practical questions that we can reflect on. How much effort am I willing to put into this journey of self-discovery? Am I ready to spend time on it every day? Where can I find a quiet place all by myself? How do I make sure that during this time I will not be disturbed by others? Really practical things that I can ask and put in place. And again, sometimes these things look very trivial. And yet, especially when we are starting to, have more discipline or put things more into a structure, having these things in place, having a dedicated time and all, it really helps. Otherwise, life just takes over and the day passes and you don't even realize day after day after day it can happen. So if we do want to have a structure, this is really helpful, although it sounds really, I don't know, small and unnecessary. So if somebody is willing, we can move further. And again, these questions, we must, if we are here and if we are wanting to connect with the psychic more deeply, know more about it, we must take out this time to ponder on these questions, all, some, one, anything that can help me know more about myself, but surprisingly, I know very little of most of the time. Yeah, so anybody, if they're willing to read, we can
Yeah,
go
can you
forward.
Yes.
Yeah.
can you just put the questions again, the practical questions in
Yeah.
perspective in front? Just the practical questions, the नीचे वाले जो है ना?
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So just wanted to spend a little bit on spend some time on why, as Taru said, that these questions look very trivial, but they have something within them which will set kind of a discipline. क्योंकि mostly क्या होता है that we think or we think to ourselves that I really want to have my psychic in front or I want to be in touch. बट हम उसके लिए अगर हम 24 आवर्स ऑफ डे देखें तो उसमें उसको कितना टाइम दे रहे हैं, 5 मिनट से भी कम शायद। और बाकी टाइम जो भी हमारे पुराने पैटर्न्स चल रहे हैं उसी में चला जा रहा है, एज तरु सेड दैट द लाइफ टेक्स ओवर। सो द ओल्डर पैटर्न्स दैट हैव बीन सेट, they somehow becomes, they take over, they are overwhelming if we don't give this importance that now this is very very important for me, very very important, and I want to have this separate time for it. And not only separate time but all throughout the day, 24/7, all throughout the day I want to be conscious that this is what I want to do. So 24/7 of the throughout the day, all the hours, there also I want to be conscious that this is my primary motive. So I think this is very important क्योंकि हम बोलते कुछ और हैं और करते कुछ और हैं। तो इसीलिए बहुत ज़रूरी है कि जैसे अगर मुझे कोई इंस्ट्रूमेंट सीखना है तो मैं बोलूँ कि है ना, मैं क्लास लेने जाता हूँ, लाइक 1 सेशन अ वीक वी डू साइकिक एजुकेशन, है ना। तो अगर मैं कोई इंस्ट्रूमेंट सीख रही हूँ और मैं सिर्फ एक ही दिन सीखने जाती हूँ और पूरे हफ्ते बिल्कुल प्रैक्टिस नहीं करती और मैं फिर से इंस्ट्रूमेंट की क्लास के लिए चली जाती हूँ, फिर से चली जाती हूँ, बट द टीचर वुड नो दैट आई एम नॉट प्रोग्रेसिंग बिकॉज आई हार्डली प्रैक्टिस। अगर गिटार है तो मेरे हाथ हो हार्ड नहीं हो रहे होंगे, फिंगर्स, इट्स नॉट जस्ट still soft and not really flexible enough. So if I really want to learn guitar or any instrument, then daily, I think it is a well researched fact that people who are very good at things spend many hours on those things. It has been researched. So it is not that they are genius, but just by the effect of it. They are genius, they may have some part of genius, and mother says that everyone is a genius, but we don't spend time on these things. So it is very important to fall in love with this self discovery. And whenever we fall in love, we give that thing time, है ना। जब हमको romantic love, what we call as romantic love, when we fall in that kind of a love, चाहे कितनी भी मुश्किल हो, हम we want to meet our partner, we go ahead and spend like amounts of money and travel kilometers and take flights and trains, whatever, just because we have to meet. Why? Because there is love, so called attraction. So if I am in love with self discovery and if it is important for me, if not love, if it is important for me, बहुत ज़रूरी है, तो फिर उसको टाइम देना पड़ेगा। बिना टाइम के इट विल जस्ट बी अ वाइट वॉश एंड डन। साइकिक एजुकेशन की एक तरफ से हम पूरी वर्कबुक खत्म कर लेंगे, हो सकता है ऐसा, है ना, कि पूरी वर्कबुक खत्म कर ली और लोगों को जाके बता भी रहे हैं कि अच्छा ये तो मैंने पढ़ ली और एक्चुअली में जो हुआ है वो कुछ अंदर प्रैक्टिकल ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन नहीं हुआ। So just wanted to address that this trivial looking elements are very very important. So we must give it time, give ourselves some time. Yeah. Then please go ahead.
Yeah, again, a very trivial thing, but when you were sharing, I remember, there's this famous Einstein quote. I mean, it wasn't a quote, but he said that genius is 1% talent and 99% hard work. So that effort we cannot shy away from or say कि वो खुद ही आ जाएगा, that we have to put in. We have to put in. There's no other way. Yeah, I think that's now said. And yeah, so if anybody wants to read this, we can start with You May Think.
Yes, you may think it is difficult. You may wonder if you can keep up the effort. Remember that each long journey starts with the first step. If you remain static, your progress will be slow. Sri Aurobindo writes in The Human Cycle, a declaration of impossibility is a sign of ignorance and weakness. A beginning can always be made, for by doing the difficulty will be solved. So, sorry, I'll just read that one more time. A beginning can always be made, for by the doing the difficulty will be solved. Our greater possibilities. Man lives mostly in his surface mind, life, and body. But there is an inner being within him with greater possibilities to which he has to awake. He has to learn to live in his soul and purify and orientate by its drive towards the truth the rest of the nature. Sri Aurobindo. Follow your soul and not your mind. Your soul that answers to the truth, not your mind that leaps at appearances. Trust the divine power, and she will free the godlike elements in you and shape all into an expression of divine nature. Just read this one more time. Follow your soul and not your mind. Your soul that answers to the truth, not your mind that leaps at appearances. Trust the divine power, and she will free the godlike elements in you and shape all into an expression of divine nature. Sri Aurobindo. Thank you.
So this was the heading, if we remember, the great discovery of the chapter, the great discovery. So reading the psychic being, the psychic influence, and we were on time for reflection. And these are the two quotes about the great possibilities by Sri Aurobindo. And now we go to the next part of the book, self-observation. So if we would want to add anything on this, we can do that.
Yeah, I think it is the yeah this one. This yes here. Yes. So I just wanted to highlight this the second part where it says not your mind that leaps at appearances. So mostly we are busy here all the time. We are looking at things through our sense perceptions and then interpreting those sense perceptions and then thinking about them, whether I should talk about that or should not talk about that. I should be getting that. Why am I not getting that? That appeared so beautiful. Oh, I wanted that. So all the time, and Sri Aurobindo says when he talks about the surface being and the inner being, this is what I had shared earlier on the psychic education group also, that he says that when we are busy in looking at all the appearances all the time and making sense of it and then jumping at it or getting averted, kind of getting aversion from that, then it means that we are living in the surface being. And this living in the surface being is like a curtain of blindness which separates us from our inner being. So I feel that this has to be a practical thing in our life, that whenever we become conscious of our old patterns, this leaping at appearances, है ना, from time, and सबके लिए वो अलग अलग होंगे. I may leap at something else and you may leap at something else, you know. So सबके लिए वो attraction points अलग अलग होते हैं. So what attracts me would be different from what attracts you. But the thing is that whenever I follow that dictate of attraction or aversion, I am living in the surface being, and hence I am not being able to be in the touch with the true consciousness which can guide me truly. तो उसमें क्या होता है, यहाँ पे भी मेरे पास लाइट तो है, आई डू हैव लाइट, it's like a torchlight I still have, and I'll try to make sense with my torchlight, which will of course take me in whatever direction. But if we want true guidance, and all of us I believe are craving for true guidance, because that's why we will study psychic education, otherwise why would I pick up this book? So then whenever we become conscious of this leaping at appearances, wanting to grasp at something and wanting to possess something, or something that really makes us disturbed in the because of the sense perceptions, then we have a choice, because we have read this in words of Sri Aurobindo, we have a choice to step back, to know that हमें वहां से कुछ भी lasting नहीं मिल सकता, because whenever we are leaping at appearances, there is a promise behind those appearances that we will get some lasting contentment through those things, in the material world. And slowly, if we have had enough experiences and also a little bit of wisdom through whatever we read, then we can see that this material world can never give us anything which can last. Whatever will be given to us can be taken away from us immediately or sometime later. So the lasting contentment that I am looking at, because of which I leap at appearances, क्योंकि कहीं ना कहीं वो promise दिखता है. So now if I have enough experiences like that, then I will not, out of knowledge also, out of wisdom also, I will not jump at that appearance. And because I would say that, what can it give me? It can't give me anything true. So even if I miss it, let me miss it. Because I have found something deeper, a kind of a well of contentment within, or if not found, I know that it lies within. Why? Because Sri Aurobindo has said that. Mother have said that. If I have not found yet, no problem. I am going to do the journey. But at least I am going to now step back from this leaping at appearances, because this really takes me away from myself. तो ये जानना कि माना मुझे अभी नहीं मिला है, बट मास्टर्स ने बोला है, मिस्टिक्स ने बोला है, कुछ तो सच बोला होगा, इतनी सदियों से बात कुछ चलती आ रही है कुछ तो उसमें होगी सच्चाई, नहीं तो क्यों उपनिषद और वेद और इन सब चीजों को इतना महत्व देते हैं, कुछ तो होगा उसमें. So just to have that trust and faith, and to step back from that leaping at appearances, which again, because of me having a promise there कि वहां से कुछ मिल जाएगा मुझे lasting. So to know that वहां से कुछ भी lasting नहीं मिल सकता, that knowledge and that wisdom and understanding makes me, it makes me easy to step back. It is easier than to step back. Yeah.
Yeah. And on this, even this, a lot of times when we feel that what I am reading or what I am becoming aware of, it appears too far, right? Like ऐसे लगता है अपने बस की तो बात ही नहीं है, ग्रीक और लैटिन चल रही है. So that's why I think in the beginning only this quote has been, from the human cycle included. That if I believe that that is a sign of ignorance and weakness, a beginning can always be made. For by doing the difficulty will be solved. And the first paragraph also, how it points out that there are things in me, possibilities in me that even I am not aware that they are living in me. Like, again, we speak about Hanuman, right? Hanumanji, that how he was told, oh, you have the power. So it's not that I have to do this. There's something in me which has the capacity, which is always, which already is it. And yet, because of the veils, I can't see it. So I don't have to, again, there's some things which I can logically do. Like we were talking about discipline, right? Logically put in the discipline, the time that, yes, I want to do this. Look, if I'm looking at appearances again, I can withdraw. And there are some things which I know there is something in me which will take care, which has the capacity. So that too, I think, is a great reminder as we are beginning, that don't fall into it's too far or it's too complicated or I don't even know where to start. A journey begins with the first step. Yeah. So if anybody else is willing, they can read from this passage. This chapter we'll start on self-observation. Yeah. Jagat, would you want to read more?
Sure. Thank you. Self-observation. Now that you have some idea of what it is all about, the first question is how you will strengthen your decision. Each human being is a learner throughout life, learning from mistakes and achievements. Each one of us is born with weaknesses and strengths. Most likely in your life, you have experienced that you sometimes took a decision but later did not keep it up. Say you decided that you would do some exercises every day to keep your body fit. You really wanted to do it, and yet, after some days, you started missing once, and after a few weeks, you stopped more or less completely. How is that possible? Here is the mother's answer. If you look sincerely, you will see that you have decided that it will be like this, and then beneath there is something which has not decided at all and is waiting for the second of hesitation in order to rush forward. But if you really want it, nothing in the world can prevent you from doing what you want. It is because one doesn't know how to will it. It is because one is divided in one's will. If you are not divided in your will, I say that nothing, nobody in the world can make you change your will. The mother. Ma'am, if time is not a constraint, can I read that one more time? Thank you. If you look sincerely, you will see that you have decided that it will be like this, and then beneath there is something which has not decided at all and is waiting for the second of hesitation in order to rush forward. But if you really want it, nothing in the world can prevent you from doing what you want. It is because one doesn't know how to will it. It is because one is divided in one's will. If you are not divided in your will, I say that nothing, nobody in the world can make you change your will. Thank you, ma'am.
We can pause here. I'm sure we all have seen these movements, and I think especially when we have to get up early morning, when we sleep, the determination in our heads is pretty strong that no, I'll be up by this time and then I have to do this. And mostly we don't wake up exactly when we thought we would, unless, there is a chore to be done, somebody you have given time and all. If it's just you, if it's just me, we slack a bit. So we have seen this, that how this one person, one thing in me which is determined, there's another which is not. We are divided in our will, and we are not one, we are many. So if a strong, captain, a strong leader is there, then he doesn't give anybody a chance. He doesn't ask, should we conquer this hill? He just says, come, let's, you know, it has to be done, and everybody follows suit. So if you really want it, nothing in the world can prevent you from doing what you want. Now, I remember in one of the talks, Acharya Prashant once he had said that किसी के रोकने से अगर तुम रुक गए तो तुम कभी चले ही नहीं थे. Because a lot of times we have some grievances, I would have done this, I would have done that, but the situation, the person, the circumstance stopped me. But again, there was something in me which, okay, the other person said, don't do it. And I'm like, okay, I didn't do it. So again, just it's good to reflect on this so that we are more aware of how things have been working in me. And if I want to continue the same way, I can. But if I want to change, I can. But if I at least know now, okay, this is how it works, I have a better hold on things, I have a better grip, I have more power, because now I'm more aware that this is how it works, how that voice comes and it, dubs me and it dulls me. So I think that's a very important thing, to become aware of these movements that come up and stop me from doing what I would want to do. Yeah.
आई थिंक यहाँ पे हम देख सकते हैं कि जैसे जिन जिन हम में से जिनको शादियों पे जाना पसंद है या सेलिब्रेशंस पे ज़्यादा जाना पसंद है, all of us know, and some of us may like to party and meet at gatherings, and we know that if we really want to be there, we just are there. No if and but, no left and right. No, unless somebody dies in my family, or some major tragedy happens, I know that I'm good. So something in me is just unified at that point, that I know I have to be there. Why? Because I know it. I just want to be there. So what mother was sharing here, that if you really want something to do, and there is nothing in the world that can stop you. So I think that there again it comes to my honesty, my sincerity of how much it is important for me. Because otherwise I'll see this gulf, that I say something else but my actions are not in accordance. So this we have to see in our life, कि ऐसा तो नहीं है कि जो बाकी काम है वहाँ वो हम नहीं कर पाते, वहाँ पे तो वो पहुंच जाते हैं, किसी से मिलना होता है गप्पे मारने के लिए पहुंच जाते हैं, बहुत अच्छे से तैयार होके, बिल्कुल रेडी होके, है ना, और हल्का सा हेडेक भी हो रहा है तो पिल खा लेंगे. क्यों? क्योंकि आपको पता है वो चैटिंग आपके लिए जरूरी है. आई वॉन्ट टू बी देयर. शादी पे जाना, पार्टी पे जाना, एंड फॉर मेनी ऑफ अस इट मे बी लाइक आई स्टिल वांट टू गो देयर, आई वांट टू मीट पीपल, गैदरिंग्स आई वांट टू गो अटेंड. तो फिर वी मेक श्योर दैट वी आर देयर. सो आई थिंक हम अपने आप को फिर झूठ नहीं बोल सकते. जो ये मदर की हमने पढ़ी अभी चीज, तो उस पर फिर हम अपने आप को फिर हमने अपने आप को ये कहना ही पड़ेगा कि अच्छा मैं अभी तक एक्चुअली मैं पूरी तरह से चाहिए नहीं है. मानना पड़ेगा कहीं ना कहीं कि एक्चुअली मेरा मतलब स्टार्टिंग तो हो गई है, कहीं ना कहीं जरूरी है मेरी लाइफ में, लेकिन इतना भी जरूरी नहीं है अभी. एंड दैट इज वाई पेन एंड सफरिंग व्हेन दैट कम्स टू अवर लाइफ, दैट इज वाई दैट एक्ट्स एज अ गोल्ड, कि तब हमको ये सारी चीजें लेफ्ट राइट करनी पड़ती है, पार्टी गैदरिंग वॉट एवर, और जो मेन चीज है जो हमें कॉल कर रही है उसको फिर इम्पोर्टेंस देनी ही पड़ती है, क्योंकि अदरवाइज हम मुड़ते नहीं है. अदरवाइज वो पार्टीज हमारा कभी भी पीछा नहीं छोड़ती है. So that is the importance of gourd, of pain.
Yeah, very well said. Even in Delhi, I know growing up, I don't remember the place, but there's a place around 3 hours away or 3.5 hours away where paranthas are famous. And I practically know people who actually plan कि we'll go there to eat
Mm,
those paranthas. So 3 hours one way
yeah.
with Delhi's traffic, they would travel there.
Mm,
In the sense, it's like it just shows and it's beautiful in a way that I have the capacity, right? Like I
mm,
have the
mm,
will.
mm.
It's just being used at a place which is important to me right now. That company or that, yes, 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 we'll go, that enthusiasm
Yeah, yeah,
is important. I give it importance.
yeah,
When if
yeah.
there's a wedding, like you were saying, so a lot of weddings, even these days, they say तारों की छाव में कि मुहूर्त
Mm,
3:30 का है सुबह.
true.
Then I am very happily
Yes,
up.
yes.
But yeah, otherwise I'm like, my God, are you crazy? What are you doing up, at this time? You want to, I don't know, meditate or whatever. I
Mm,
myself question myself कि अरे अभी और सो जाते हैं,
true,
right?
true.
तो वो
Very
important
true.
नहीं है मतलब. I remember,
Mm,
Jet, somebody had asked once in a session to Jet Sunbala कि I'm not able to wake up
mm,
on time. What do I do? So she said that if I was to tell you today that from tomorrow, if you don't wake up at 5 a.m., you will die. The
mm,
day you don't wake up, you will die. Will you wake up or not?
mm,
So she said, I will most definitely. So, in the
mm.
sense, it's just a way of saying that I'm not convinced yet. I don't
Convinced,
really
yes.
want it yet. So
True.
even acknowledging that is a good step, because a lot of times big picture and small picture, that we were talking once, that if I think about myself and what I want, what I am thinking is really up there. But my life is not reflecting that. My everyday, my actions are not reflecting that. So at least that honesty also takes
Mm,
me somewhere. I don't know. Either I stop doing or claiming, and then I
mm,
come back to it with a stronger will, and okay, okay, नहीं करना तो नहीं करना, छोड़ो. And then
mm,
I'll see if I can stay away. But ये जो हम hanging से इधर उधर से हैं, उसमें again, of course, the movement is always forward, but it's not the movement is not very
mm.
strong, and it's very slaggy and
Convinced.
yeah,
Yeah, not
convinced.
very convinced. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, Jagan, would you like to carry on, or anybody else if they want to read? I don't know.
Yeah, I'll just share something before um, yeah, when I was reading those lines about will, if I can request you to open that. Okay.
This one only?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Where it says if you want to exercise and after a while I miss one time and then after a while I don't know, I'm totally not doing it. I find that what am I basing on? Like, who is my inspiration? Or, what am I standing on that I want to do this? Because all these years, it was always something that was limited, if I can put a name to it. Like, uh, if I want to work out because because I was inspired by someone and I wanted to work out. If I wanted to do this because I wanted to make my mother happy or my father happy or something else. But so always the inspiration was a person, an individual, and always doing this because okay, you know what? They said this, that's why I want to do it. And what's happening, what I've observed in me is that after a period of time, that inspiration kind of fades away because, my intellectual mind kicks in, starts to take all it starts to kind of um question this person and all the things that they don't do correctly. And then I kind of, the inspiration fades away thinking, okay, this person is also doing mistakes and why should I, base my, why should I take him as an inspiration? But this is where I'm finding the mistake that I'm doing because many times in these sessions also, Monica ma'am and you have said that make mother as your inspiration or your base. Like you didn't say exactly these words, but it was on the same lines, so that I'm only looking at the mother. I'm only keeping faith in the mother, and I'm only doing everything for the mother. And it's very different because then this will or whatever that I want to do, it stays constant. The inspiration stays constant because um, I will talk about Nirakar uncle. When he went into this path, he only saw the bigger picture. He only saw the mother as inspiration. He was not inspired by anything else. It was always the mother. He was doing everything for the mother. And for him, that will has stayed, I think it has only gotten stronger with time. And when I look at him and when I look at myself, then I see, okay, what am I looking at? And what am I being inspired from? And I only see people in my life. I don't see mother. So for me, the learning I take from this is that um, to be to to just be able to have more faith in her versus having faith in people. Like although faith in people, I don't know, that's something I'm not sure about. But the faith is what is missing in my life. And when I cultivate that faith, and when I base my uh, when I take I don't know, I'm kind of lost for words, but yeah, I hope I could convey my point. Thanks.
This ideals that you talked about, Sri Aurobindo and mother, with them we see that they put everything in a proper place. है ना, कहीं हम पढ़ रहे थे ना, इट्स ऑल रिकंसाइलिंग विजडम. वो हर चीज को उसकी जगह दे देती है कि बेटा तेरी ये जगह है, बिल्कुल सही है, तू गलत नहीं है, तेरे को भी एग्जिस्ट करने का अधिकार है. सो व्हाट यू वर शेयरिंग अबाउट आइडियल्स, हैविंग आइडियल्स इन लाइफ, पीपल एज आइडियल्स, इट हैज अ प्लेस. देखो ना, आप अपने घर में पड़े रहते और मोटे होते रहते, उससे अच्छा तो ये कि आपको किसी इंसान ने इंस्पिरेशन दी कि भैया उठ, जरा बॉडी शॉडी बना, थोड़ा तगड़ा बन, जवान है. तो उस बंदे ने अपना काम कर दिया. एंड पीपल आर मैनिफेस्टेशंस ऑफ द मदर ओनली. किसकी मैनिफेस्टेशंस है हम सब? मदर की तो मैनिफेस्टेशंस है. द डिवाइन काइंड ऑफ मैनिफेस्टिंग हिमसेल्फ थ्रू मल्टीट्यूडिनस फॉर्म्स. तो उस सेंस में आप देखोगे तो जब हम पीपल से इंस्पायर होते हैं, इट हैज इट्स प्लेस, बिकॉज एज मदर सेज, डिजायर डिजायर इज द हेल्पर, डिजायर इज द बार. तो वो जो इंस्पिरेशन है, इट इज एक्चुअली अ हेल्पर ऑफ व्हेन पीपल हैव आइडियल्स. And it is actually a necessary stage. If we look at study Mother and Sri Aurobindo, we will see that they mention it as a necessary stage through which we all pass. क्योंकि ये होता है ना, देखो, and they talk about having good ideals. अब जैसे rather than having आजकल के जैसे वो ये हिप्पी टाइप या जो भी है ना, उस टीनेज पे आप यू अराउंड टीनेज और यंग एडल्ट एज यू बिगिन टू हैव दीज आइडियल्स कि अच्छा मेरे को वो पसंद है, मेरे को वो पसंद है, मेरे को अपने केक पे उसकी फोटो चाहिए, बिकॉज यू लाइक दैट पर्सन. तो दे टॉक अबाउट हैविंग गुड आइडियल्स. सो से फ्रीडम फाइटर्स एज आइडियल्स. तो ऐसे आइडियल्स, क्योंकि हमारे आइडियल्स ही हैं, उन्हीं आइडियल्स को यूज करते 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 करते, और अब चलो आपके लिए वो जैसे दे लॉस्ट देयर स्पेस एंड नाउ यू हैव कम टू द मदर, कि अब मदर के अलावा मुझे कहीं जाने की जरूरत नहीं है. सो दे वर अ रंग इन द लैडर and they have a proper place. So just wanted to say that it's everything has a place, and those ideals that came to all of our lives, they also have a proper place. Yeah.
Thanks for pointing it out. Yeah. Thank you. So this is also important
Yeah.
in the journey. Yes, yes.
बिल्कुल
Thank you.
बिल्कुल. तो
Yeah.
होता क्या है कि हम बड़े अनग्रेटफुल लोग हैं, मैंने अपने आप में देखा है, एंड दैट्स व्हाई आई एम एबल टू टॉक अबाउट इट. हम क्या करते हैं, हम एक बंदे, what people that we use as inspirations or ideals, अगर हम उनका इस्तेमाल कर चुके हैं एक तरीके से, if I use the word इस्तेमाल, they have served us growth in consciousness at some point of life, जब हम उससे थोड़ा आगे बढ़ने के लिए तैयार होते हैं ना, हम उनको टुच्चा करार कर देते हैं, एज इफ अच्छा मैं उससे तो बहुत आगे आ गया हूँ, समथिंग लाइक दैट. आपने ये ग्रेटिट्यूड नहीं फील किया, बेचारे उसी ने तो आपको सीढ़ी बना के आगे भेजा. हमारे साथ अक्सर ये होता है कि हम पीछे वालों को ना, कुछ मैंने ये उसके साथ भी देखा है, व्हेन पीपल चेंज कंट्रीज. Many a times I have seen with my friends that if they have now settled outside of India, they begin to talk less of India. कि हम क्यों नहीं है इंडिया में, देखो इस पर्पस की वजह से नहीं है इंडिया में, क्योंकि इंडिया ऐसा इंडिया वैसा. तो मैं कहती हूँ कि यार इसकी क्या जरूरत है, दैट्स योर चॉइस है ना, यू आर चूजिंग टू सेटल आउटसाइड. मतलब इंडिया आपकी जन्मदाती है, इट्स योर मदर, उसको आप ये बोल रहे हो कि है ना कि इट्स नॉट वर्थ इट एंड दैट्स व्हाई आई एम नॉट कमिंग. हाउ एरोगेंट ऑफ अस. So this I feel that we have to really bow down, and all these steps that come on our path, they all serve us so beautifully, and they are the ones who have now directed us to the mother. All the intermediate gurus and masters and friends and companions and books that we can't resonate with anymore, you know, they all have served us a purpose. So to be grateful for those rungs of the ladder, for all of us, not just in that context. Yeah. Yes, Shweta, you want to add on? Okay.
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. One more thing that I have seen in me, that if there are 10 people telling me what to do, or they might have said the same thing, there's one person who I listen to more, or the way he has said it, or something. As in, a lot of times I could be very grateful to someone who has shown me something, and yet it was something in me which wanted to follow that, so I heard that. Like, so that thing is in me too, that I'm wanting to, okay, this resonated with me and I said yes and I started doing it. So ये जो अपना भी है इसमें, a lot of times going down to the others, how they say दूसरों की जय से पहले खुद को जय करें. I mean, there's something in me which resonates, then only I follow. I don't follow anybody. So that also has a purpose, that also has a reason. And it has also happened that, okay, somebody said something to me and I find it very motivating. And after 10 years, I say, you said this and I did this. And they're like, I don't even remember saying it. Or I might have said something. It's again happened that I said, okay, this should not be done. For example, in an example, and somebody comes after me after 2 months that, oh, how you said this has to be done. This was very helpful to me. So I couldn't say anything because I was like, I just said कि ऐसे नहीं होता है, and but that helped her, that misunderstanding, or how she was able to take it, that helped her in becoming more, I don't know, powerful. So whatever I want to pick, I pick that too. So it's like, it's not a chance, I think, is that I want to say, that there's a reason for everything, what I'm resonating with, what I'm agreeing to, what I'm hearing, no matter what is being said. That's what I need to know, and that helps me go one step forward, one more step forward. Yeah, I don't know if that was confusing. Okay.
Yeah, that was very confusing actually. Please elaborate.
I let it be. Thank you so much. So, should we go forward? Yeah. So, anybody?
Yeah, Taru, I'll go. In this passage, the mother points out two movements: the process of self-observation of the different parts of the being and the role of the will for self-control. This chapter is about self-observation. You may wonder what self-observation has to do with the psychic and whether it is really so important for psychic progress. The answer lies in the previous quotation. None of us is made of one piece. In fact, the mental, vital, and physical are made of many layers that are often not in harmony with each other. Time and again, the outer layers do not cooperate with the inner layers. It gives you the feeling of being divided inside yourself. One part decides this, another part does something else. Through self-observation, you will become more aware of your inner layers and open the way for the psychic discovery. Through self-observation, you can begin to bring harmony inside yourself. Self-observation is a journey in the inner worlds. It is similar to traveling by train. When you travel, you look out through the window and observe the landscape, the people and their habits. When you go on an inner journey, you look within, you observe yourself, your thoughts, your feelings, your habits, and slowly you, you journey deeper and deeper inside yourself. Gradually, you become familiar with your inner landscape. You come to know yourself, and through this self knowledge, it is within your reach to change the quality of your life. One of the beautiful essays the mother wrote is Science of Living. What does she means with Science of Living? She has given the essay a subtitle, To Know Oneself and to Control Oneself. Once, during one of her classes in the playground, a student asked the mother to explain in more detail what she meant by to know oneself and to control oneself. Here is her answer. This means to be conscious of one's inner truth, conscious of the different parts of one's being and their respective functions. You must know why you do this, why you do that. You must know your thoughts, know your feelings, all your activities, all your movements of what you are capable, etc. And to know oneself is not enough. This knowledge must bring a conscious control, the mother.
Yeah, let's pause it. Yeah, so just going through some parts, the process of self-observation of the different parts of the being and the role of the will for self-control. So firstly, because I'm not even aware that we were talking about, I slowly start becoming aware and more aware. And I start seeing these movements. And then once I know what's happening, there will be the role of the will for self-control. So she says, none of us is made of one piece. So again, this is something also we stumble upon quite late because we often see the contradictory movements, but we are not able to point out what's happening. So in fact, the mental, vital, physical are made of many layers that are often not in harmony with each other. Time and again, the outer layers do not cooperate with the inner layers. A lot of times we react, we act, we respond, and we don't even know why we are doing it that way. And suddenly something in us, an old memory, an old pattern, it shows up, okay, this is why, or whatever, this is what's making me angry or reactive. So a lot of times we are surprised by what we see. But just it's again an acknowledgement and reinforcement that how there are so many layers and so much of it is there. And we can, with this practice, with self-observation, and there are good exercises after this in which she talks about how we can, distinguish between this is the mental, this is the vital, this is emotional, this is physical. That's very beautiful. So through self-observation, you will become more aware of yourself, of your inner layers, and open the way for the psychic discovery. So, again, it comes down to what we were reading about appearances, right? At how we are always just jumping on appearances mine and others and everything outside. But once I become aware of the inner layers, the inner movement, the journey begins inside, right? And then we are we move towards the psychic discovery. Through self observation, you can begin to bring harmony inside yourself. Yeah. And yeah, anything to this quote Mother says? Yeah, Chakra.
Ma'am, you can go ahead. I'll talk later.
No, I was just saying, yeah, this quote again is the same on the same lines, right? That what is self-observation? It's just to be conscious, not just, it means to be conscious of one's inner truth, conscious of the different parts of one's being and their respective functions. You must know why you do this, why you do that. And this is really important because most of the time it's the pattern in me which is living. My habit, my past is living through me. But Mother says, no, you must be aware why you do this, why you do that. You must know your thoughts, know your feelings. Because a lot of times I'm not even willingly doing things. And if I could use consciously, if I could use my reasoning and stuff, I would see that, I'm maybe reacting to something that ended 5 years back or 40 years back for all I know. So you must know your thoughts, know your feelings, all your activities, all your movements of what you are capable, etc. And to know oneself is not enough. This knowledge must bring a conscious control. Yeah, which part should I
No,
scroll
I'll
down?
just not about those lines.
Okay.
Actually, these lines are very similar to the lines in Our Many Selves, the book Our Many Selves, and where Mother is saying that one has to observe all different parts of the being or everything, and has to unify them. I think I said this earlier also about how to unify with the true consciousness, or and it's, I don't know, these lines have been coming into my head so many times in the last 2 weeks, because um, because um, some of the opinions, some of the things I really want to say sometimes, and then the next moment I see that those thoughts don't make any sense, and I am here just sitting thinking, okay, what if I really said those things without thinking earlier, and then now I'm kind of not even believing in what I thought before. So, and even that gratefulness thing, Monica ma'am, you're sharing, that lack of gratefulness that, these people or these circumstances were important in my life is also coming from one of those beings that I'm not able to control, which I have to control, and, which I have to kind of observe and, kind of bring it closer to the true self. And, it's very surprising that keeping quiet is so hard. You know, just keeping quiet when these thoughts occur. When these thoughts come in my head, it's um, just not say anything. Just stand there, just smile, maybe smile and just keep quiet. Is very it's very hard because one day before I came to Canada, I was like arguing with my mother about a pair of shoes that I bought for her because those were kind of medical shoes, and she was not wearing them. She was, and I was arguing with her about those shoes, and in my head I was just telling myself, calm down, quiet, just stop talking, stop talking, stop talking, and yet I was talking. And the very next day, not even the next day, I think after a couple of hours, I was just sitting and I was thinking, what will happen? What will happen if she doesn't wear it? Why are you even, like earlier I was talking to a friend about how there is no absolute truth. There are different perspectives. This is my perspective, that is her perspective. So I was just saying that you read those lines so many times. You've gone, repeatedly, and yet you are here telling, discussing about something that's really irrelevant. Like that's not really necessary. And you, in your head, you were telling yourself, okay, calm down, don't talk. And yet you spoke. And after 2 hours from the very next day, now you're saying that it was unnecessary. So see, so this is the practice. This is the phase that I'm going through right now, where I really have to, succeed at this, because um yeah, I'll just stop here. I'll stay.
मेरे को एक इंसिडेंट याद आया. सो बिकॉज यू आर शेयरिंग ना कि कैसे हम कुछ अगर खरीद के दे रहे हैं, है ना, और वो एक्सेप्ट नहीं हो रहा, तो चुप नहीं हुआ जा रहा है ना. एंड देन यू आस्क्ड योरसेल्फ कि क्या हो जाएगा अगर नहीं पहनेगी, तो मैक्सिमम क्या हो जाएगा, वर्स्ट पॉसिबल व्हाट कैन हैपन. So I remember how it was like that incident was a turning point for me when I stopped to take things like, जैसे मैं बच्चों के लिए कुछ बनाया और बच्चे ने नहीं खाया. आप अपनी पूरी जद्दोजहद से आपने बच्चे के लिए कुछ बनाया, एंड द बच्चा टोटली, मतलब उस बच्चे को नहीं पता, उसको बस वो सूट नहीं किया, टेस्ट नहीं सूट किया, वॉट एवर, ही टोटली नेग्लेक्टेड इट. एंड आपको क्या दिख रहा है, आपके दिमाग में क्या आ रहा है, मेरी इतनी सारी मेहनत वेस्ट हुई. लेकिन मुझे ये नहीं दिखता कि मैं इतना सारा जो सोच के उस मेहनत के चक्कर में व्हाट आई एम लूजिंग एक्चुअली इज माय इनर पीस एंड सैंक्टिटी. मुझे लगता है अब मुझे धीरे धीरे रियलाइज हो गया दैट नथिंग इन दिस वर्ल्ड इज वर्थ लूजिंग दैट पीस एंड इनर सैंक्टिटी वंस यू हैव अ टेस्ट ऑफ इट. तो एक बार मेरे साथ ऐसा हुआ था, एंड आफ्टर दैट आई गो बैक टू दैट इंसिडेंट अगेन एंड अगेन. इवन माई किड्स गो बैक टू दैट, जस्ट फॉर फन. तो मैंने बच्चों के लिए जूस बनाया. हाँ, अब जूस बनाया मतलब अच्छे से, बिल्कुल फ्रेश फ्रूट जूस आप निकाल रहे हो, मौसमी को रगड़ रगड़ के, नॉट विद एनी मशीन, और जब मैं बोल के गई बच्चों को कि ये आपने पीना है, ठीक है, 2 गिलास रखे हुए हैं, दोनों को बोल दिया पीना है. तो इतने में मुझे आवाज आई कि गिरने की आवाज आई कि कुछ गिर गया है. दिस वॉज अबाउट 4-5 years ago. और मैं भागते हुए तनतनाते हुए आई कि मतलब मुझे पता लग गया कि ऑफ कोर्स क्या गिरा है, जूस गिर गया है. मैंने कहा हाउ इज दिस पॉसिबल, मतलब क्या तुमको दिख नहीं रहा, छोटे छोटे बच्चे, 3-4 साल के बच्चे, हाउ मच आई स्पेंट माई सेल्फ ऑन इट. सो व्हाट हैपेंड इज कि मैं भागते हुए आ रही हूँ उनके पास, नीचे ऑन द वे पानी गिरा हुआ है, या जूस जो भी वो गिरा था, जूस था मेरे ख्याल से वही जो गिरा था, एंड आई स्लिप्ड ऑन दैट जूस. And I didn't feel bad about it. I actually laughed in front of my children. I said, this mother is telling me that, I don't have to take it seriously. Why am I losing myself for it? So it actually is like on my face, mother tells me कि कोई जरूरत ही नहीं है, मतलब overreaction, excuse me. So like that, मुझे मतलब what the example that you were sharing, that to lose our peace of mind, that you gave something to somebody and the person did not appreciate it, or did not use it well. I feel that what is the worst that can happen? Okay, it goes to kabar, it goes to waste, or maybe it gets transferred to some other person. How does it matter? How does it matter? Still, it is not worth losing my inner peace and sanctity. तो मुझे लगता है कि जब हमें एक अंदर का टेस्ट मिलना शुरू हो जाता है ना, once we have developed a kind of a new taste, then whatever may happen, slowly, lesser and lesser incidences will begin to trouble us. This Sri Aurobindo also says, I think today also somewhere I read, that he was sharing that slowly, as we begin to live in this inner peace and sanctity and, a kind of a calmness within, slowly all those things that were, मतलब हल्के से होने से हम हिल जाते थे पूरा, है ना, पहले ऐसा होता था. तो वो कहते हैं कि अब वो जो हल्का सा होता है उससे नहीं हिलते, अब उसको और ज्यादा होना होता है ताकि हम हिले, तब जाके हिलेंगी. तो मतलब एज इफ कि दैट earlier the outer was very concrete and very important and everything was so overwhelming. Now the inner life is expanding and that is becoming more concrete. वो जो outer वाला influence है, वो जब तक बहुत बड़ा कुछ नहीं हो जाता तब तक वो अंदर को हिलाता नहीं. And this we also see, somebody asked, somebody was sharing that few little children were playing around Sri Aurobindo's room, and some person complained, or that person said to those children that don't play around Sri Aurobindo's room, he will be disturbed. So now one of those children went to the mother and complained about that person, that that person said that Sri Aurobindo would be disturbed, so we should not be playing here. Is that true? Something like that. And mother was like, excuse me, Sri Aurobindo can't be disturbed. No, so whatever you may do, but his peace can't be disturbed. But on the other hand, of course, there is sanctity to be maintained. But mother said that you may do whatever you may like, but don't think that Sri Aurobindo will be disturbed. So slowly, 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 we have to kind of make that inner sanctity and inner sanctuary more concrete, so that nothing outer, especially the trivial ones now, they are not easily swaying us like they used to. So this is a very good sign slowly. And what you were sharing is again a step on the path that you thought about it. अच्छा ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा क्या हो जाएगा नहीं पहनेंगी तो क्या हो जाएगा. So it's a very beautiful step now that it is going ahead. तो अगली बार अगर आप ऐसा कुछ होता है कि you gave something, then maybe you are more concretely in touch with that inner deeper sanctuary, and it doesn't matter actually जितना हम importance देते हैं outer चीजों को. और मैं बार बार वहां पे जाती हूँ कि जैसे इमेजिन करो, आप अपने आप को पीछे ले जाओ, है ना, जुपिटर से देख रहे हो, किसी दूसरी गैलेक्सी से देख रहे हो. हु आर वी? स्पेक ऑफ डस्ट. वो जूता जो दिया था वो कहाँ है? वो कहीं छुपा होगा कोने में, दिख भी नहीं रहा होगा. कितना इंपॉर्टेंस देते हैं हम इन छोटी छोटी चीजों को, और उसके लिए हम कितना अपने आप को टॉर्चर करते हैं, और एक्चुअली में एट टाइम्स दूसरे बंदे को भी टॉर्चर कर देते हैं, दैट हाउ डेयर यू. Yeah, Deepa, you wanted to add on something?
No, I think it just happened by mistake. Sorry.
Okay.
थैंक यू. तो जूता तो छोटा होता है, बट मेरी ईगो जिससे मैंने दिया होता है, और दिस थिंग दैट somewhere when I have always stepped back, I've seen that there's something in me which is saying that I know better. They must do this because I have read this and I know this, and so that ego driven thing, this all anger and frustration, whenever this root, I feel, the superficial root is there's something in me which says मुझे पता है, करूँ. I'm saying, तो वहीं पे ही you start laughing कि अच्छा मुझे पता है, बहुत अच्छी बात है, बैठ जाओ आप, kind ना, like again. Yeah, so the things are small, but because I am bigger than anything, so things appear to be bigger and I dance.
Yeah, I think that would go in resonance with what Mother says, that because we take ourselves too seriously, that's why we are miserable. वही जो आप कह रहे हो, तो उसको अगर आप लेट गो कर दो कि हाँ, मतलब वॉट एवर, either I take it in a sense that I don't know the best, of course, whatever I see is this little window, or I take it in an other sense that अच्छा क्या हो गया अगर मना भी कर दिया कि नहीं पहनेंगे what I gave. So in whatever way I step back from that seriousness about me and myself, that takes me away from that misery.
Yeah, I think even I have this first-hand experience of all this. Like, you feel, especially with your children, कि आपको पता है, and you're the biggest well-wisher, well-being, वो सब आप चाहते हो तो, लेकिन समझ आता है कि because there are times when I have felt helpless and I've left it, like, God, you take charge. And as soon as I've surrendered, I feel things have improved. So सच में समझ आता है कि okay, आप best possible way भी सोच रहे हो, फिर भी आप limited, और how do you even think कि you are the one? You are not the one. So once you just become humble enough to like seek that help from the divine, I think something just shifts, something changes. I have like observed this so many times. Like, you think this is the only way, and no, matlab there are infinite possibilities and things happen all the time as soon as you leave the control. And for me, I felt that each time the lesson has been that, okay, you think you are the karta dharta, le one chap. Like I'm not the one. So everywhere that I feel I'm the one, I get to realize that no, when I let go and let God, things get better. Or uh, it just starts moving somewhere, like wo ki tumko, though you think from the best intention, still you have to let go, and you have to just allow it to flow organically also with your best intentions. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Shweta. Really resonate with what you said. Okay, once you let go, things are actually much better. Yeah, so I think we'll end here today. So, yeah, thanking Grace, thanking Divine for this session, for these words, for these forces that we are exposed to, these practical points that we can actually look at. And if we are able to follow, maybe we'll see more to self-observation as we were learning. We'll learn more about ourselves, learn more so that we can be less of what we think we are. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.